Hi, everyone. This is Kristin Sullivan with Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to introduce you today to my colleague, Katie Lee with New York Life. Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kristen?
Good. I just am so happy that you're here. We like to bring our guests a lot of information on best planning before and then right after the wedding. So I thought it would be so great for you to come on and share your thoughts on newlywed financial planning, or even maybe before the wedding, what's happening. So I know you're not feeling great today. I really appreciate you being here. So I'll let you take it away.
No problem. I definitely appreciate being here, and I definitely that's something that I feel really passionate about is getting started off early with having a sound financial plan. I've been in this industry for about a year now, so I'm actually still a little bit newer to it. And my husband and I have been married for about 15 years, or almost 15 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And since joining this industry, I've learned so much that I wish I had known when we first started off, and that I wish I had had someone that could tell me or teach me these things when we were just starting. Um, and I think really the biggest thing is just making sure that you have a sound financial plan. Not necessarily as far as like wedding budget and everything like that. What I do is more so long-term planning, making sure that you really are setting up what we call your financial house. So the foundation of your house is always the most important, right? You know, when you're building a house, what do you start with?
Yep. You got a
So
foundation.
yes. You know, so the foundation is really your protection cornerstones, making sure that you have things in place to protect your family if something happens to you. Make sure that you have things in place to protect your income if something happens and you're not able to work for a period of time. Just making sure that you have those protection place processes in place, and then building up that accumulation, and how do you make sound financial decisions. So as far as leading up to a wedding, obviously there's a lot to pay for. And you know, a lot of people are really focused on that budget and how do I afford this expense over the next year and things like that. But one thing I really try to encourage people to look at is not just that short term, but how do you recover from that expense? How do you make sure that you're planning for the long term and not going crazy overboard? You know, weddings are so fun, and they're supposed to be a little overboard if that's what you want, you know. They're supposed to be one of the biggest celebrations of your life. And I think what my learnings are since joining this industry is how do you transition from that into married life and planning your whole future together, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yes. We always, it depends. A lot of times people have parents contributing, which is so nice. That's, obviously something that people prepare for. Then there's other times, of course, where they have no contribution whatsoever. So we always, that's one of our first questions actually as planners is, what is the budget? Who's representing the budget and what portion? And how much do you want to spend overall? Because weddings, as you know, can be very expensive. And we don't want anyone starting their marriage going into debt. That's never like the intent. It is something that is supposed to be special and memorable, and we don't want any stress. And, money causes stress. So we just want to make sure that that's not something that is being kind of put upon them with everything else that they're going through.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you have, so when you meet with your clients, do you have like worksheets and workbooks you set up with them and go through a process with them, since they are combining probably finances and households at the same time or for the first time? Some people, I imagine, already live together and have done that. but you have a process, I imagine, that you go through, like an evaluation with everyone when you first meet them.
Yes, absolutely. So we do. We actually have a system within New York Life called Guide Me, and it's an excellent system because it really guides you, both me as the professional and the clients through what their goals are and how to make sure that we're planning for those goals and identifying what's important. So, like you said, with newlyweds, a lot of times they're combining two households or combining two incomes and trying to figure out how that works. And there's different people at different stages of their life. Not all newlyweds are 19 years old like I was, just starting off. Um, but if they are, that can be a really scary time. You're just branching out on your own, and now you're also trying to figure out, how do I bring another person into this? And if it is people who are at a different stage, maybe they do already live together, maybe they already have families and that they're now bringing the two families together. How do you mesh that together and make sure that your financial goals move forward as one? And so I think that's one thing that when I first sit down with people is going over what their financial goals are, what is really most important to you right now, and what can we do to make sure that you're building that strong financial house throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, you brought up a good point, especially if children, people are coming into the marriage with children. That obviously tends to have many different facets to it, I imagine. And I don't have children; I only have dogs, so I don't know that part. But I'm not even quite sure how to address that one. But I know that when people are married and then the wedding is over, they tend to have this little downtime. Like they don't know what to do because they've spent a year or 2 years focusing on wedding planning. And sometimes people go into having children, or they are, for the first time, or they already have children to begin with. And that obviously becomes the focus. So we all want to make sure we're planning accordingly. And that's amazing that you all do that. And is it through life insurance, or is it through 401ks, or is it a combination of everything that you work with people on?
So it's really a combination of everything. So, New York Life started as a life insurance company. A lot of people hear New York Life and they think, oh, life insurance. And to be honest, that's probably what I would have thought before I started this. And when my husband and I first got married, someone did approach us about life insurance, but nobody really took the time to teach us about the values of it and what it was there for, other than just protecting your life if something happens, right? So I think we bought like a small policy when we first got married and then canceled it after 2 years. We were like, this is an expense we don't need. It's fine, whatever. But nobody really took the time to explain to us the importance behind it and what else life insurance can do. But New York Life also does more than just life insurance. When I sit down with my clients, obviously I'm going to bring up life insurance because that's something really important to me. That's something that I've learned a lot about. And it is part of the protection foundation that you need for your family. But it's also about your financial goals. If you already have life insurance in place, that's awesome. If you don't have life insurance in place, but you're really more focused on something else, we can work on that too. So we work on long-term savings, college planning if there are children. If there's not children, if you're saving up to buy a house, how can we help you meet that goal of purchasing your first house? And like you said, not going into a marriage just carrying a ton of debt with you. It's really about a well-rounded financial approach and not just focused on selling a product. One thing that I love about my process is that I get to talk to people and really find out what their goals are, what their budget is. We do a full deep dive. So it goes over income, expenses, long-term goals, short-term goals, any debt that you already have, how you want to pay off that debt, anything like that.
Yeah, I know one thing that a lot of people hear about in the news today and talk about is student loan debt. So I imagine that's probably one of the first things that you you ask about or learn about or encounter, because so many people have that as like the second worry in the back of their mind after buying a house or before buying a house. It might make a huge difference.
Yes, absolutely. I still carry some student debt with me, and like you said, it's been in the news so much lately, and definitely that's one of those big concerns that a lot of people have. And without getting too in depth, because everything is really very personable based, there's no way I could sit here and tell you like, oh, this is how you should do it, because it's really just based on each individual person. But that is one of the first things that a lot of people say is they're like, I really want to pay off my student loans. I really want to work on getting down this big debt before we get another big debt, or before we move forward in our life. And how can we do that? And that is one of the goals that we can address, is how to pay off that debt faster, or how to make sure that you're not leaving that debt behind, whether it's just through leaving it sitting and not doing anything with it, or how can you make sure that it's addressed and that you're moving forward in a productive manner.
Absolutely, absolutely. And do you all just work, because we have people watching from all over the world for the podcast? Do you just work in US, or do you also work with clients outside of the United States?
So right now I am only US based.
Okay.
New York Life is a US based company. We don't really work very much with external, like outside of the US, unless there's very special circumstances.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's amazing. Is there anything else that you want to share? Do you have a story from your wedding, Katie, that anything you want to share with people watching?
I would say the one big thing is, like I said, my husband and I got married very young. I was 19, he was 21. I was actually still in college when we got married. We got married after my second year, and I stayed in college for another 2 years. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's crazy. How did you do that? How did you be a newlywed and still go to college full time? But honestly, it was amazing being able to have that support, and, have my husband there with me through that experience. I think was really amazing for me. And I know that's not everybody's experience to get married that young, like I said, but, that was one thing that was really amazing for me. But our honeymoon, this is just a funny story that, I like to tell. We went to Florida for our honeymoon, and we were lucky enough that a family member allowed us to use her timeshare, so we didn't have to pay for, a place to stay or anything like that. But we decided to fly to Florida and rent a car for the week that we were down there. When we got down there, because we were both so young,
Oh,
the cost of the rent a car almost tripled and used up pretty much our entire honeymoon budget.
oh no.
And so we just kind of went into it with this idea of like, well, I mean, it's our honeymoon, we're only going to have one, might as well enjoy it, and pretty much just put everything on a credit card from the rest of that for the rest of that week. And I like, looking back, I don't regret it at all. I think it's definitely one of those things that there are times where you have to make that decision of, what, this experience is worth the debt. But then once you get back, how do you recover from it? So I think that's just a funny experience. And, we were talking to some friends about it actually not that long ago. We did some crazy stuff while we were on our honeymoon. We took a helicopter ride over Gator Island, like just because it was something to do while we were there. And, but it's one of those experiences that was like, yes, we spent a ton of money on it, but it was our honeymoon. And you don't want to just be sitting there going like, well, I don't want to spend any money, so I'm not going to do anything. So that would be my little tidbit is, there are some times in life where you can splurge, you should splurge, and you really want to make sure you have those memories, but then how do you recover?
Yes, that is so true. And You couldn't have said it better, and you couldn't have had a better experience. You took kind of a little bit of a twist in the beginning and made the best of it, which is what we all hope happens for weddings and honeymoons and celebrations. And it teaches you how to deal with things together too as a couple, which is always interesting. If you haven't had something like that come up before as a couple, right out of the gate, you had it and you dealt with it and it all worked out well. And look, 15 years later, you're still here.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Sorry.
Katie, thank you so much. I know you didn't feel well. I really appreciate it. We hope to have you back again someday, and you can share even more tips. And if you are watching, Katie's information will be posted with the podcast. You can reach out to her. You can set up a time to go through the process with her. She can answer any questions for you if you are in the US. If you're outside of the US, we will find someone that will globally be able to answer some questions for you as well. So thanks so much, Katie. I appreciate your time. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. No, I definitely appreciate being here. And like I said, I mean, I feel like we didn't dive really deep into anything today, but if anybody has any questions, I'd love to talk to them individually and go over questions or just kind of planning their future. It's not, I think a lot of times when people hear like financial services or the financial industry, they're like, oh, someone's just trying to sell me a product. And, that's really not what I'm here for. And I have to agree that before I got into this industry, that probably is what I would have thought too, is like, I don't need whatever you're selling, right? But I love to just talk to people. One of my favorite things to do since joining this event or joining this industry is just going out and working events, just because I like to talk to people. I like to see people face to face. And I would love to have anybody reach out to me and just ask questions. We can go through their plan, anything they want.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I hope you feel better and get some rest.
Thank you, and have a great week.
Okay, we'll see you again soon.
Okay.
For everyone watching, we hope your wedding goes just as planned. And now we hope following the wedding, things go even better. Have a great day. Bye.